You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Looking for these better days.
It is Friday, April 3rd. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. The Lakers get embarrassed by the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Final Four tips off tomorrow. We will break it all down. Mackenzie Rivers joins me on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. We will be joined by AJ Hoffman on this episode as well to preview tomorrow's Final Four. But Mackenzie, we start in the NBA, where last night the Lakers took on the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we talked about this on yesterday's show. The Lakers were 9-point dogs. We felt that that was too much. The market actually moved in favor of the Lakers at one point. The line went down to 8.5, then to 8. Then it shot back up to 9 and 9.5 with late money coming in on the Oklahoma City Thunder, which was clearly the right side.
Correct.
The Thunder outscored the Lakers 44-21 in the first quarter. They go on to embarrass LA 139-96. This was supposed to be the marquee matchup of the night. This was supposed to be the prime TV, nationally televised game between two Western Conference contenders. Obviously, the team that's going to be the 1 seed in the Western Conference in the Thunder, but the team that's going to be the 3 seed in the Lakers. Like, watching that game last night, for the little time that I did watch because I turned it off because it was so disgusting, am I supposed to believe that if this is a playoff series, it's worth watching? This was pathetic last night.
No, it's a 5-game series at best. The Lakers lost in 5 last year to a much worse team in the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoffs. When 3 of your best players, when your 3 best players are defensive liabilities, some nights you're going to shoot 7 for 30 from 3. You're not staying in the ball game on those nights. But this, I mean, in a 45-point win, usually you don't pick out individual performances, especially 28 points. Under 50% shooting from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'll say right now, I'm confident in this. SGA, better right now. Peak, not career, not 20-year career. Peak right now, better than LeBron James has ever been, better than Luka Doncic has ever been.
Wow.
I mean, it would be easy for SGA to put up 50 in this game and win a close game. That's not what the best players do. It's not what it looks like. It's 30 minutes plus 35 on the court. They couldn't stay on the court with them. That, to me, is a better emblem of the best player being the best. Just can't stay in the game with them. I mean, that was more MJ-like, good 28-minute romp than putting up a million stats. So he doesn't get the credit he deserves, but he's the best player in the league right now. He's past Jokic. Wemby's coming. But, this run has been incredible since the All-Star break, since he came back.
It's ridiculous. And by the way, he's now eligible for postseason awards. So he's going to be the MVP despite our conversation about Wemby. I think, the more games like last night that happen, the more that the voters are just going to continue to be solidified by it. Also last night, good pick by you, Mackenzie, on the Detroit Pistons, who improved now to 8-1 against the spread. Since Cade Cunningham went down with his injury. They win in cover against the Timberwolves 113-108.
Systems over players, as good as Cade Cunningham is, the Pistons are one of 2 teams that I think can win the East at this point, along with the Celtics.
Well, systems over players, is that how you felt last night with watching the San Antonio Spurs without Victor Wembanyama defeat the LA Clippers?
Surprised, yes, was a loser for me, but not shocked. Darius Garland, no show really at any point in the game. Mitch Johnson, I think, over Mazzulla probably is a better Coach of the Year candidate. I think J.B. Bickerstaff gets it, but no one expected this. I mean, if you just said Jaylen Brown's going to be Jason Tatum this year, all right, the Celtics will probably be, just as good as they were. But nobody had this. They had them over 44 wins. nobody had them as a 60-win team in the first 5 years of Wemby's career.
Well, let's take a look at the schedule for the association tonight, where we have maybe a potential Tankapalooza parlay, Mackenzie, even though the one got blown up the other night. We could go back to the well here tonight as we have several heavy favorites. You got the Hornets, 15-point favorites over the Pacers up on FanDuel. You have the Hawks that are 16-point favorites over the Brooklyn Nets. The Knicks, 16.5-point favorites over the Bulls. Rockets, 17.5-point favorites over the Jazz. Celtics, 17-point favorites over the Bucks. Raptors, who ruined the parlay the other night, 13-point favorites over the Memphis Grizzlies. Your six-leg Tankapalooza parlay, minus 175 up on FanDuel.
Minus 175 for an 8-team parlay.
Six team parlay.
What if we took Toronto off there? Can we stay under minus 200 after Toronto?
Minus 252.
Minus 252. That's rough. Toronto probably does win that game, as the rest of the teams probably do.
Minus 175.
I can't recommend it. It's too many. It's like if I was in a time machine and they said, all right, this is what's happening in the NBA. Tanking is completely out of control. It's, the last man's gasp to get as much tanking in as you can. What's the average line in the NBA? I'd be like, I don't know. They probably bump it up to like 12 points. 15 and a half every game is wild. And it's life in today's NBA.
It's unbelievable. It's so embarrassing.
It really is. Adam Silver, bad job. I mean, in this, the breadth of his career probably started off as good as it could do. Getting Donald Sterling to sell the Clippers. Made a good reality show on Bravo. I don't know. Over the tenure, I feel like I don't know. He can still save it because he can still be the guy that changed the NBA. It was a machine for a long time. I think they got to make it a racehorse again.
What I said on Twitter last night was that the real problem, we don't need expansion. The real problem in the league is that the season is too long. And it's really the simplest solution to avoid tanking, to avoid everything. The season is just too long. This is a month of meaningless basketball. We don't need this month of meaningless basketball where we have 17-point favorites every single night. Just get me to the playoffs. We already know who the playoff teams are. Just get me there. I don't need 3 weeks of meaningless basketball, which we have here at the end of every season.
From an awards perspective, Thursday night, the biggest thing that happened, biggest stat to track was games played equals 0 for Anthony Edwards, now disqualified for All NBA. And once you knew that nothing else is gonna affect the odds of anything you'd bet as far as awards more than that, which is crazy because 0 minutes played.
Just done with it, man. Just absolutely done with it. Let's see. Let's move on. We're gonna talk college basketball Final Four tomorrow. AJ Hoffman will join us here in a couple of minutes to preview that. Yesterday in baseball, we did hit our sweep avoidance system. The Twins beat the Royals 5-1. So now on the season, teams looking to avoid the 3-game sweep are 7-7 straight up, 9-5 on the run line, 9-4-1 to the under. So maybe it's something towards the under is to keep an eye out for. Well, the Braves and Diamondbacks didn't go under because the Braves scored like 17 runs yesterday, which is absolutely crazy. Today in Major League Baseball, it's a whole bunch of new series that are beginning. And Mackenzie, I don't know if you were prepared for this series to begin, but the 5-1 Yankees will host the 5-1 Miami Marlins beginning here today.
The Jeter Bowl.
I mean, it's the home opener for the Yankees, so it's a day game there in the Bronx. Will Warren on the mound for the Yankees. Yuri Perez going for the Marlins. Yankees minus 175 up on FanDuel. But the Marlins, best record in the National League? What? I mean, it's only 6 games, but still, best record in the National League at 5-1. Who knew?
What was their win total, like 65 this year?
Yeah, it was low. It wasn't anything to be anything to write home about. Other home openers today, you got the Red Sox home opener against the Padres. Sonny Gray will go for the Red Sox. Michael King going for the Padres. Red Sox, who have lost 5 straight games, by the way, are minus 120 favorites up on FanDuel. You got the Tigers home opener against the Cardinals. Framber Valdez going for the Tigers. They're minus 175. Mike McGreevy will go for the Cardinals. Nationals home opener against the Dodgers. Miles Michaelis for the Nats. Emmett Sheehan for the Dodgers. You got the White Sox home opener. You've been to a bunch of White Sox home openers, Mackenzie.
Big Herc.
Yeah.
Frank Thomas, baby.
Sean Burke on the mound for the White Sox, and former White Sox pitcher Dylan Cease will go for the Blue Jays in that one. You got the Rangers with their home opener, Mackenzie Gore on the mound, your namesake. Brady Singer goes for the Reds, Rangers minus 168. Guardians home opener with Joey Cantillo on the mound against the Cubs and Cade Horton. Twins home opener, Bailey Obear on the mound, and the Rays will counter with Joe Boyle. And I believe that, and the Rockies home opener as well. It'll be Michael Lorenzen for the Rockies, Aaron Nola for the Phillies. Pirates home opener, Mitch Keller gets the start for the Pirates, and Kyle Bradish goes for the Orioles. Angels home opener is tonight. Reed Detmers on the mound for the Angels, Brian Wu for the Mariners. The A's home opener in Sutter Health Park in Sacramento with Jeffrey Springs on the mound for the A's and Christian Javier for the Astros. NFL news, the Raiders are bringing in Kirk Cousins to be their starting quarterback, maybe?
You're crazy.
Listen,
he's retired.
Couple of things here, Mackenzie. Do you bring in Kirk Cousins to be the mentor and backup to Fernando Mendoza, or do you bring in Kirk Cousins to start right away while you bring Mendoza along slowly and not throw him to the fire in his rookie year? Or do you bring in Kirk Cousins because you are considering trading the number 1 pick and not drafting Fernando Mendoza?
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about the pro days and how they're always the same. Maybe if Tom Brady's keen eye saw something he didn't like or heard something he didn't like. Kirk Cousins, though, what do you get, 3 years out of him? I think this is very much a more expensive, better version of Jacoby Brissett and Drake May. They're going to have a camp battle. They're going to say Cousins gives us the best chance to win. They're probably right in week 1. And eventually, very soon, it'll be Mendoza. That's my prediction.
Okay. It's pretty much drafting. Like, I saw all the jokes online yesterday about they're going to become the first father-son duo in the NFL because like Kirk Cousins just looks like an older Fernando Mendoza. And then I saw another meme that was like, there will be no cursing in the Raiders quarterback room this year.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, there's going to be interceptions. Oh, fudge. There's going to be a whole lot of that.
Hey, man, it's all right.
Well, that's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Raiders do with their quarterback situation. And if he was the highest paid,
or he was the highest drafted backup quarterback to start his career. Then he was the highest paid, pretty good quarterback ever by far. Like him and Aaron Rodgers are like 1-2 all time in total money. And now he's the highest paid backup. Kirk Cousins, much like me, we started our career. Washington Redskins called it the time. Training camp, we met. I was like, what's up, man? I'm from Yale. You're from Michigan State or whatever. And we've been vastly overpaid, if we've been paid at all, our entire careers.
Well, 37 years old and the presumptive backup to the eventual number 1 overall pick in Fernando Mendoza. All right, Mackenzie, we have to turn our attention to college basketball because the Final Four will tip off tomorrow.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada? Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
AJ Hoffman joins us now on this edition of Better Day, presented by FanDuel, as we break down the Final Four tipping off tomorrow in the Annapolis. That's right. It's one of my favorite commercials when it comes to the Final Four. You know something? Are they done with those commercials, AJ? Like, I haven't seen a Chuck and Samuel L. commercial in quite some time.
They've all been replaced by Boozer Twin commercials and Survivor 50 promos. That's all that we get now. That's the only two things that matter in this whole world is the Boozer Twins and Survivor 50.
Oh, come on. I mean, it was Spike Lee, Samuel L. Jackson, and Chuck trying to get to the Final Four. Yeah, the Final Four in Indianapolis. In the Annapolis, Maryland. it's a great commercial. All right, let's talk about these two games. We also have hypothetical lines for the national championship, courtesy of our friends over at FanDuel. Game 1 tomorrow, AJ, will feature the 3 versus 2 matchup. Illinois taking on UConn. I had already bet UConn plus 2.5 when this line came out. It then went down to 1.5. It has crept back up to 2.5 or 1.5, depending on the book. I mean, right now at FanDuel, it is Illinois minus 2.5, but that is at even money. So the plus 2.5 on UConn is juiced. Total is 139.5. Did you place a wager on this game when the line opened? What was your initial thought when the line opened? And where are you now that we are a day away from tip-off?
I have zero action on this game at this point, which I kind of thought I would, but and part of me is trying not to buy into my own, the way my mind has changed over the last 4 games for Illinois, because most of this season I looked at Illinois as a national championship contender, a Final Four team, and about, I don't know, maybe a month ago, I said, I've not liked the way they've looked against the elite teams, and I just kind of took them off my list of teams I thought could win the national title. And at one point, I was saying they were equal to, Duke and the other top tier teams, the 2 teams that are playing in the later game. It turned out they weren't. But now that once I jumped off the bandwagon, they start looking phenomenal.
Yeah. And
now I'm a little scared to jump back in and go all the way back to the other side of the pendulum and say, oh, I knew it all along. And I do think that UConn provides some unique challenges for them. I think the number is 1 of post-up plays that teams have run against Illinois in this tournament. I mean, it's just they've not played a team with anybody down low. And obviously UConn, the way they've been playing is running everything through Terrace Reed. Mm-hmm. I worry about Illinois not creating turnovers. I think that'd be a good way to get at this UConn team, and it seems like that might be troublesome for them as well. I do think UConn's going to have a hard time stopping Illinois. I do think Illinois is going to get their points, but I worry about Illinois on the other end. It's a fascinating matchup to me. I am if I have to end up putting a play on it, it'll probably be an Illinois money line play. I think it's minus 125, minus 130. You know, that's books now are like it's minus 1.5 juiced to where it's basically like minus 120, 125 is what they're looking for there. And if I play it, it'll be an Illinois money line play. I'm just not sure that I'm going to be in one way or the other. It may just be I'm all my investment ends up on the other side of the bracket, and then I get myself ready for the championship game on Monday.
So, like I said, I've already bet on UConn plus the 2.5. That was the first bet that I made when the line opened up because I thought that this was only going to go one way. I thought that money was going to come in on UConn, and I was proven right at first, but then there was a buyback on Illinois, so obviously maybe I was a little bit wrong. I just don't want to bet against this Dan Hurley magic, AJ. 17-1 ATS over the last 4 NCAA tournaments. I can't bet against that. They find a way to win. It was as ugly as a first half as you're going to find against Duke, but their defense was masterful in the second half. And defense is something that I think could help them here against Illinois. Plus, Illinois is just also like there's so much variance with their 3-point shooting. They could you've mentioned it before on this pod. They could be very hot and run you out of the gym, and they could also be cold, and the game can wind up being played at a snail's pace. That being said, I think this total is suppressed too much, and I want to be on the over here up on FanDuel at 139.5. All the projection sites, Ken Pom, Torvik, Haslam, have this being played into the 140s. And I agree with that. I think that too much is being made of defense for UConn. Unders are traditionally the way to go here, especially in the football stadiums, right? Final Four, sight lines and whatnot. But I think that both of these teams are going to be able to score. I think Terrace Reed inside. I think Illinois' 3-point shooting. I actually like the over a lot in this game.
Yeah, I don't hate it. The thing that's kept me off of that is the first matchup, and kind of what's kept me off Illinois as well. These two teams played early in the season. They played at Madison Square Garden, and it was a 13-point win for UConn, 74-61. And that makes you feel good.
Well, let's face it, it's a home game for UConn. They have the entire building there.
Yeah. The other thing about that game, though, is Keaton Wagler played under 15 minutes in that game. David Merkovich played, I want to say, under 20 minutes in that game. Illinois hadn't quite figured out their rotation yet the way it is now. And obviously, the emergence of Wagler is probably the biggest driver of Illinois' success. That game, we did see a good offensive game from Solo Ball, which those have been few and far between since then. I think a lot of it comes down to what do you think that this new Illinois offense that is not the November one, the current one, which let's face it, Illinois, one of the best offenses in the country, period. Is it good enough to run up some points against this UConn defense? I kind of think they are. I do. I mean, Terrace Reed's such a force down low. But I do think eventually, like, there's enough big bodies on Illinois that they might get him in foul trouble. And if there's a lot of free throws shot in this game, I think the over is probably going to end up getting there pretty easy. So I'm with you. A strong lean to the over for me.
All right, let's talk about the nightcap. It is the battle of the one seeds. Thankfully, we cashed our strongest investment, our largest investment pre-tournament, which was over 1.5 one seeds to make the Final Four, courtesy of Michigan and Arizona, where I've been making the same comment all week ever since like this line opened up, where I've been saying, it's like the old Fez comment. I'll let the books decide who they want to post as the favorite, and I'm just going to take the plus 1.5. With whoever they decide as the dog, because I think this is a true coin flip here. Michigan is and credit the market, I guess, because Michigan's been the 1.5 point favorite ever since open, and it has not moved. Michigan minus 1.5, total up on FanDuel 157.5. Is this a true coin flip? Where do you have this between Michigan and Arizona?
No, I do think it's a coin flip. I think it's I'm with Ken Pom. I'm with most of the analytics sites that I think this is a 1.5 point is the right line. That said, I do like some matchups stylistically for Arizona here. particularly that it's no one's been able to really go at this Michigan front. Mara is such a monster down low, is such a great shot blocker that teams are afraid to go down there against him. And this Arizona team is not going to be afraid of that. They're all big. They all play bigger than they are even. I think there's a couple stats that jump out to me that are going to put Arizona over the top here. One, I think, is they are so elite in transition that I think that's where I think Michigan can be had a little bit when Mara's not able to get down the court. I think that they get some points that way. And on the other side, Arizona's pretty elite on transition defensively, and Michigan would love to score some points there. And while I think, like, when you look at these front courts, there's so many positive. There's nothing bad to say about it either. Their front courts, I love both these front courts. I do think there is a little bit of an athleticism edge for Arizona in the backcourt. Yes. I think that as good as Elliot Cadeau is, I think that Jaden Bradley and Braden Burris, like, I think these guys are on a little bit of a different level than he is. So I think that I don't know that I want Arizona to turn into a shooting team. Obviously, that's not what they've done all year. And I don't think that's what they'll do. But they may have to work the ball a little bit through their guards. And I trust Jaden Bradley, who I think is, I've said before, I think there's 6 NBA players on this Arizona team. And if they do win it one day, we're going to look back like probably 5-6 years from now and go, oh my gosh, of course they won it. Everybody on this team is in the league. Jaden Bradley's the one guy. I'm not sure what kind of a player he is in the league, but that's not to do with his play. That's a size thing. I mean, he's the Big 12 player of the year. He's the dude's legit. It's just I don't know if his game translates to the next level. But what I do know is he's an elite college guard, and I think he is going to give Cadeau some real problems here. So if I call it a wash down low, I'm gonna go with the backcourt edge that I think belongs to Arizona, despite the fact that they don't shoot. And I think that's, and the other thing is Michigan not great at turning you over. Not that Arizona is on the other end. They don't really, but Michigan just doesn't really even try to turn you over. They're in the 280s on turnover percentage created. It's just not something that they do. They're outside the top 300 in steal percentage. So I think that's an edge to Arizona as well. I don't think Arizona is ever going to get blasted on the boards. You saw Tennessee get 19 offensive rebounds against Michigan. If Tennessee could shoot a lick, if they could maybe even put anything back in the basket, maybe they would have given themselves a chance to be competitive in that game. But when Arizona gets a rebound on the offensive end, they stuff it back down, and they're not going to be missing layup after layup like Tennessee was. I think we saw a little bit of a vulnerability on the defensive glass for Michigan against a team that really goes after it, which I think Arizona will. So I think there's enough. I think it's a great matchup. It's probably the best matchup we could have had on paper of the whole Final Four. Especially the way these two teams have played through the tournament. No disrespect to Duke or Florida, who were both obviously warranted 1 seeds. But I think these two teams, because they mirror each other so well, it's probably the most intriguing matchup we could have seen. So I'm glad we're getting it. But I do think that some of the things that make me lean to Arizona have been really kind of shown throughout this tournament, and that rebounding edge that I think they're going to have is one of them. And I think their ability to defend in transition is going to be another. So give me Arizona -1.5 or -120, whatever. Excuse me, +1.5 or even money. I think either one of those is good. I'll probably prefer the even money side of things if I can get one of those to just the +1.5 points juiced, which it looks like it's starting to go to a juiced 1.5 as well. So. Yeah. Similar lines, but yeah, I'll be on the plus side of this one.
Are you putting any stock into this whole manufactured drama with Tommy Lloyd, the distractions of the North Carolina job and having to answer questions about it at every press conference, at every practice?
Sure, but I mean, I think that's also happening to Dusty May, and quite frankly, whoever loses this game might be the next head coach at North Carolina, which sounds funny, but
because they have the leg up, they can interview right away.
Yes, don't be shocked if whoever loses this game gets flown out to Chapel Hill on Saturday. So and watches the championship game on Monday there in the chancellor's office at North Carolina. So, I think that there are real distractions, but I think it's going on both sides. I think North Carolina would love to have either one of these guys, and rightfully so. I think they're two great coaches who have done fantastic jobs with their programs. But no, I think at the end of the day, I mean, this Arizona team is clearly a team that has been put together in this new world of one and done, and going to find going to Illinois is kind of a similar way. You go out of the country, you find a couple of these more pro ready Euro types and see what they can do. And so far, it feels like it's really gelling right now. And I think because Michigan and Duke were so great over the course of the season, it kind of overshadowed Arizona a little bit. But I believe in this team, man. I have all year, and I don't see the weakness in them other than 3-point shooting. And I always say, if you're not a good 3-point shooting team, at least be a low volume bad 3-point shooting team. And Arizona's the lowest volume 3-point shooter. They just don't care. So if at least know what you are, and Arizona knows what they are. They are not. They're actually, in terms of percentage, they're a top 40 3-point shooting team. They just, in terms of actual volume, they're bottom 3. So they know who they are. They know their identity. And I just trust that in a big game. And I know Tommy Lloyd's yet to get him over the hump. I think it's got to happen at some point. You've got a lot of coaches here outside of Hurley who everybody's waiting to get over the hump. So it's either going to be a third one in 4 years for Hurley, or we're going to see a new coach, kind of move his name into that upper echelon. And I think Tommy Lloyd's my favorite of the bunch.
I would agree with that. I mean, you mentioned the low volume threes. I've been joking about that win over Arkansas where they scored 109 points. They only made 5 3-pointers in that game and scored 109 points. There's so many what ifs. You mentioned Hurley possibly winning 3 out of 4. Remember, they almost beat Florida last year. They covered that game against Florida, and Florida went on to win the national title. We could have been sitting here talking about the potential of a 4-peat for Dan Hurley and UConn. And
it's funny. It doesn't feel like there's some of these teams that are here. UConn is certainly one of them. This is not UConn's best team. The fact that they're here right now is pretty impressive, because this is not the best squad they've had in a while. I think Illinois too. I've heard some people say this is Illinois' best team. I don't think that's possible. I think back to the Kofi Coburn and Ayo Dosunmu team that was. I mean, they were just phenomenal. But it is funny that sometimes it's just a meld of the right things and adding in the right pieces to the recipe. So I think we're due for an awesome Final Four, man. I'm excited for both these games, even though, like I said, I don't have much action on the first one. But I do think there's going to be it's going to be a fun game. And I one more note on the betting aspect of it. I'd look to an over on Burries. I think that he and quite frankly Bradley too. I think both of them have big scoring days, because I do think this is going to be an up-tempo game, an up-and-down game. And I think that Cadeau, who he's out to the tournament late because of an illness, I think he's going to be slowed down a little bit. He's going to have a hard time defending those guys. And like I said, I just think Bradley has a little bit of a different level than Cadeau does when it comes to speed. So I think he might be able to get some open looks and take advantage of them. So I'd like the player props over on both the backcourt guys for Arizona.
Well, so far your recommendations on player props have been on fire, because you had Lendenborg go over in the previous game, and that was just a monster performance there. 27 points for Lendenborg. Before we let you go, AJ, FanDuel does have hypothetical national championship lines, so let me read them to you and see if anything jumps off the screen. Arizona would be a 5.5-point favorite over Illinois. Arizona would also be a 5.5-point favorite over UConn. So that's interesting. Michigan would be a 5.5-point favorite over Illinois, but Michigan would be a 6.5-point favorite over UConn. So to me, these national championship lines just tell me that UConn plus 2.5 is the right side, right? Because if all the matchups are saying that it would be the same, if it's Illinois or UConn, it means that they're pretty much power rating Illinois and UConn very similarly. Granted, they are giving Michigan the one difference, meaning Michigan would be a one more point favored over UConn than any other matchup. What do you think about those hypothetical championship lines?
Yeah, I think when I was talking earlier about the UConn and Illinois line and like what I would make it and things like that, and just by pure power ratings, I would have made Illinois a bigger favorite than they are. Like I said, I worry about the matchup. I worry about the first game that they played. I think there's some things that make it where it's hard for me to pull the trigger on him. But even Kimpom has, they've got UConn as 5 points worse than Illinois, and
Wow.
9 points worse, 9.5 points worse than the two teams playing on in the late game. So I would expect that 5.5, whatever, that won't be there. I think that the winner of the late game on Saturday is going to be heavily favored in the national championship. Like, I think probably gets up to around 7. And 7 is that number where, or where people think, oh, maybe they won't foul anymore. So it's kind of the end of the time where you think fouls can win the game for you. But yeah, I have a hard time not wanting to back either one of those, the top, the 1 seeds in the national championship if the numbers are below 6. That just feels like a gift to me. And I talked about it like with Illinois, who hasn't dealt with post ups down low, and how Terrace Reed could be a problem for them. That's not a problem against Michigan and Arizona. Like, Michigan and Arizona, they welcome Terrace Reed to come down and try and play with the big boys. They're not worried about that. So I do think there's some real edges on paper for those guys. Illinois would scare me because they can score with anybody, and if it gets into a track meet, it's interesting. But I think Michigan and Arizona against UConn, I think there's a real stylistic disadvantage for UConn there. So if UConn does pull it off against Illinois, I'm probably going to jump on the first number for whoever wins the night game.
All right. And then one final bet, AJ. The most outstanding player, Yaxa Lendeborg, plus 240 favorite up on FanDuel. Braden Burries, your guy, plus 650 as the second favorite. Keaton Vogler for Illinois, plus 750. Jaden Bradley, Arizona, plus 850. Koa Pete from Arizona, 10-1. Terrace Reed from UConn, 13-1. What's the play for the Final Four most outstanding player?
I'm still going to go with my gut here, and I'll take Braden Burries. Yeah, I think that just the way he's playing right now, he's been so great through this tournament. I don't know that he's going to be shooting a bunch of threes against Michigan, although he may have to, but he's been the one guy that I trust to make some for them. And again, I think that Michigan doesn't really have a matchup for him, and quite frankly, if it's UConn, I certainly don't think they have a matchup for him. So I like the way that on paper his matchups look, and because I believe Arizona's going to win it all, that's the way I'd go. So that's the play I'd look at, 6-1.
Well, I have the ticket on Arizona to win the national championship, so hoping that comes through. Might add to it with the Braden Burries plus 650 tournament, Final Four, most outstanding player. AJ, great stuff as always, man. Appreciate the time. Look forward to catching up again, and in good luck with your bets.
All right, anytime, my friend. Take care.
Always love talking college hoops and other sports with AJ Hoffman. He'll be back on the pod pretty soon. We'll get some UFC picks from him, obviously, as we progress throughout the year and the bigger UFC events. Mackenzie Rivers back with me here. What do you make of that conversation when I looked at the potential championship lines, courtesy of FanDuel, seeing that Arizona and Michigan are the same sized favorite against Illinois and pretty much the same sized favorite over UConn in a potential matchup? Michigan only slightly would be a 6.5-point favorite over UConn. Doesn't it say that UConn plus 2.5 against Illinois is the right side?
Yeah, I think so. I think it shows that there's value on that side. I also think it shows there's value on Arizona, that they would be just as big of favorites, essentially, in those two matchups. And think about it. There's two different markets here. The Final Four are out in every book and every bookie on your corner. They're booking these lines. That's different from potential championship odds, which are not that liquid of a market. People are not getting big bets down on a game from in a few days. And it's more of a pure power ratings play. They're just taking Ken Palm or whatever magic they do to it to have their power ratings and say, these how good the teams are. And it shows that Arizona's about as good as Michigan and UConn's about as good as Illinois. Yet you're getting in the market that's influenced by bettors and fans and people going to the game, that you're getting plus money if you're taking those power ratings seriously.
100%. That's where I think the value lies. And That's our bets, and we are sticking to it. All right, a reminder, you guys can become a Better Day Insider or Premium member by clicking on the link on our homepage at betterday.com. Had a monster night last night for Better Day Insider and Premium members as we, flip the calendar to April. We erase what was not a great month in March, but now we're off to a great start here in April. Let's look to continue the momentum. All the picks are sent out, obviously, via our Telegram, and you can also catch it up on the picks page on our website at betterday.com. So click on the link on our homepage, learn how you can become a Better Day Insider and Premium member. MLB Game Center is exclusively for members as well. You can find the prop projection edges, and pretty soon we will have game score projections once we get enough data for the 2026 season, and we can stop relying on spring training StatCast data and 2025 subsets. Also, the NBA Game Center is still delivering the estimated plus minus projections for player props, game totals. It continues to deliver as well. So many ways where you can find your edges at betterday.com. Follow us on social media as well. For Mackenzie Rivers, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.